Every so often, a familiar shape on the road hides something unexpected beneath the surface. Enthusiasts and casual drivers alike start to sense a shift before they can even name it. They notice performance statistics that do not line up with what they thought they knew, or they hear whispers that a traditional formula has been quietly reworked in a way that could upend long-held assumptions. In those moments, the entire landscape around a legacy icon can tilt without warning, because once a new idea proves itself in a beloved format, hesitation from competitors fades and imitation follows. Designers respond, engineers recalculate benchmarks, and owners begin to weigh nostalgia against innovation. The debate that follows can ignite more passion than any advertising campaign. Whenever power delivery changes, drivetrain layouts evolve, or a new layer of technology alters how a machine behaves at the limit, the question is not just about speed, it becomes a referendum on identity. Like and subscribe, and tell us in the comments which machine deserves a full deep dive next. The Chevrolet Corvette E-Ray 2024 arrives as a turning point not only for its manufacturer but for any performance nameplate that built its identity on naturally aspirated muscle and rear-wheel propulsion. To understand why this matters, it helps to revisit how the Corvette lineage evolved across decades of shifting expectations, and then contrast those milestones with the unprecedented combination of elements that the E-Ray introduces. The Chevrolet Corvette E-Ray 2024 is not a standalone experiment, it is the culmination of design trends that began when aerodynamics, mid-engine packaging, and electronic control systems were no longer niche concepts but essential tools for meeting stricter efficiency targets while maintaining acceleration prowess. Owners who cherished earlier generations may remember when fiberglass panels and small block engines defined the formula. Now, with the Chevrolet Corvette E-Ray 2024, aluminum structures, advanced cooling channels, and digitally managed torque blending stand at the forefront. Many prospective buyers approach this model wondering if the hybrid assistance is merely a compliance measure, or if it genuinely adds to the character that drivers have come to expect from the name. In the past, the car positioned itself as an affordable alternative to exotics, offering raw thrust and surprising agility. Today it must answer to environmental regulations, insurance scrutiny, and consumer demands for technology integration without forfeiting its signature performance. The Chevrolet Corvette E-Ray 2024 uses a front-mounted electric motor working alongside a familiar V8, and the packaging alone reveals how far engineering teams have gone to preserve weight distribution while creating an on-demand torque boost. This is not about extended electric range or daily silent commuting. The designers oriented the powertrain so that instant traction opportunities would complement what the internal combustion system already provides. Fans can compare curb weight figures to prior iterations and see how carbon fiber and weight-saving materials offset the additional components. Similarly, chassis rigidity improvements ensure that ride quality and handling do not suffer. When the Chevrolet Corvette E-Ray 2024 was first announced, speculation focused on whether all-wheel drive would dull the rear-biased excitement that longtime drivers associate with the badge. Instead, early road tests indicated that entry and exit speeds around corners actually benefited from the front axle assist. To appreciate this shift, it is worth outlining the progression from front-engine layouts to the rear mid-engine configuration introduced on the still recent generation, because the hybrid integration could not have been packaged effectively under the older architecture. Battery placement, control modules, and cooling systems had to coexist with luggage space expectations and aerodynamic goals. Engineers shaped vents, ducts, and panel gaps specifically to handle the increased thermal load. For those comparing output figures, the Chevrolet Corvette E-Ray 2024 achieves a combined tally that outpaces previous flagship trims, and that fact alone changes how potential owners rank trim hierarchies. Rather than relegating hybrid technology to an entry-level or economy-oriented variant, the manufacturer gave it to a performance leader, signaling a new philosophy about how electrification should be perceived. Historically, this nameplate carved out a loyal following by offering supercar speeds on highway on ramps and occasional track days without the maintenance complexity associated with more temperamental exotics. That same ethos now accommodates integrated battery management and regenerative braking strategies. Critics sometimes argue that additional systems invite extra long-term service considerations, yet others note that modern diagnostics and modular components simplify upkeep. Inside the cabin, the Chevrolet Corvette E-Ray 2024 demonstrates how infotainment screens, driving mode selectors, and climate controls have been refined to handle expanded feature sets. Occupants still find deeply bolstered seats, compact steering geometry, and forward visibility shaped by the low hood design. Styling cues differentiate it from other trims through subtle color accents, unique wheel designs, and badging that hints at the electric contribution without overshadowing the combustion heritage. Observers might also note that tire compounds have been chosen to handle the torque surge delivered by the electric motor. Traction management systems read wheel slip and road conditions to allocate force efficiently. That network of sensors and software parallels similar advancements in other high-performance segments. Yet the Chevrolet Corvette E-Ray 2024 remains distinct because it emerges from a line that historically championed straightforward mechanical engagement. Some enthusiasts recall eras when carburetors and manual transmissions defined the experience. To them, the present configuration may seem like a departure. However, a closer look at acceleration data highlights that the hybrid assistance does more than smooth transitions. It significantly reduces 0 to 60 times and quickens response during low-speed maneuvers. The conversation about weight gain, battery longevity, and future resale value circles around multiple forums, and each thread reveals conflicting priorities. Buyers living near twisty mountain routes may prize torque vectoring that fine-tunes cornering stability. City commuters might appreciate the quiet startup in residential neighborhoods. The Chevrolet Corvette E-Ray 2024 straddles these use cases by delivering selectable driving modes that tailor electric engagement and exhaust volume. Step by step, this model reshapes expectations about what the broader lineup might become in the coming years. The decision to integrate hybrid power at such a high-performing tier suggests that full electrification could eventually appear in successor generations. In transportation policy discussions, incentives and emissions thresholds push manufacturers to reduce average fleet output by introducing electric elements to a halo car. This brand signals that it intends to comply without surrendering brand identity. The historical context is essential here, because earlier decades witnessed surges in displacement and horsepower only to be reined in by fuel crises and regulation. Now the response is to optimize combustion efficiency with electric augmentation. The Chevrolet Corvette E-Ray 2024 benefits from lessons learned across concept prototypes and alternative propulsion tests that never reached showrooms. Resilience in the face of changing requirements is part of its legacy. On the track, metrics such as lap times and braking distances speak louder than tradition, and early timed events strengthen the case that the new system confers an advantage. Perception still matters, though, because many enthusiasts tie emotional value to sound and tactile feedback. Engineers focused on preserving intake and exhaust texture, steering weight, and chassis communication despite the added complexity. A year from launch, sales figures and resale trends will further demonstrate how the market interprets this shift. Pre-orders and waiting lists have already shown intense interest from drivers who once dismissed electrification as incompatible with their preferences. The Chevrolet Corvette E-Ray 2024 cannot be fully grasped without examining the engineering rationale that guided its hybrid integration, because the choice to add electric propulsion to a mid-engine sports car comes with packaging, weight distribution, and thermal management challenges that few performance vehicles have addressed at this scale. The Chevrolet Corvette E-Ray 2024 employs a lithium-ion battery pack sized for brief bursts of output rather than extended cruising, and that philosophy influences how the control software meters assistance during acceleration, cornering, and regenerative braking. Engineers opted for a front-mounted electric motor to drive the front axle, an arrangement that not only creates all-wheel drive but also compensates for inherent traction limitations when high horsepower launches are attempted in varied surface conditions. In traction scenarios where traditional rear drive might spin the wheels before full grip is achieved, the electric motor fills the gap with instantaneous torque, shortening launch times and improving stability without resorting to heavier mechanical differentials. The Chevrolet Corvette E-Ray 2024 also benefits from revised suspension geometry that accounts for the front axle hardware. The addition of weight in the nose could have introduced understeer or compromised turn in response, but careful tuning of spring rates and damper settings counterbalances these effects. From a thermal standpoint, cooling channels had to be expanded to manage the heat produced by both electric and combustion elements. Ductwork underneath and behind the front fascia directs airflow to the motor and related electronics, while the mid-mounted V8 uses revised radiators and vents to maintain optimal temperatures under sustained performance loads. Ensuring reliability meant adding sensors that monitor voltage, temperature, and torque delivery in real time. These systems feed data to a centralized controller that can reroute power or dial back output when thresholds are approached. In the past, performance vehicles often confronted overheating issues during extended track sessions. Now the hybrid configuration introduces new variables that require vigilant oversight to avoid thermal buildup in both battery and internal combustion components. The Chevrolet Corvette E-Ray 2024 leverages lessons learned from earlier hybrid attempts in motorsports applications, though those platforms usually emphasized endurance racing and specialized pit support. Transferring similar principles to a production road car while preserving daily usability demanded iterative testing and simulation. Structurally, aluminum and composites form the backbone of the chassis, and mounting points for the electric motor had to be reinforced to handle torque outputs that differ in waveform and frequency from conventional driveshafts. In addition, the Chevrolet Corvette E-Ray 2024 employs an inverter unit that steps voltage up or down depending on torque demand. Placement of this component influences crash safety, service access, and protection from water intrusion. Tire compounds and staggered sizing complement the all-wheel drive arrangement, and engineers collaborated with suppliers to ensure that the rubber could provide adequate grip without excessive wear under heavy torque spikes. Another factor is weight distribution. The battery pack sits behind the seats or centrally in the floor pan, depending on trim and market requirements, keeping the center of gravity low and aligned with the torsional axis so that handling characteristics remain sharp. Sound engineering also demanded recalibration of exhaust routing to maintain the sonic identity associated with the V8, because enthusiasts often judge performance cars as much by ear as by stopwatch. The Chevrolet Corvette E-Ray 2024 integrates active valves and resonators that allow the engine note to rise appropriately under load while still satisfying noise regulations in residential areas. On the software side, predictive control algorithms decide when to blend electric and combustion power. Rather than letting the driver manually toggle between isolated modes, the system discreetly optimizes output based on throttle input, steering angle, and traction readings. Data logs from prototypes informed final calibrations so that transitions remain smooth, and torque fill effects compensate for any hesitation associated with gear changes or throttle lift. The Chevrolet Corvette E-Ray 2024 also adapts stability control parameters to account for additional front grip and altered weight dynamics. Sensors detect yaw tendencies and modulate brake force or motor torque before the driver perceives a loss of control. In terms of braking, regenerative systems capture kinetic energy during deceleration, but friction brakes handle the majority of high-load stops. Rotor sizing, brake pad material, and caliper stiffness were increased slightly to manage the combined momentum. Durability testing included high-altitude runs, desert heat cycles, and cold weather simulations. Each revealed subtle refinements that improved sealing, lubrication flow, and electronic resilience. The Chevrolet Corvette E-Ray 2024 positions its charging port in a location that does not interfere with daily fueling habits, and the onboard charger supports manageable recharge times for its relatively small battery. That size ensures that curb weight stays within targets, keeping the car agile and responsive while meeting emissions reduction goals. Influences from motorsport aerodynamics are evident in the bodywork, where splitters, diffusers, and side intakes redirect airflow efficiently. These features enhance downforce and reduce drag, complementing the hybrid system by maximizing efficiency across a range of speeds. Owners will find multiple driving modes that alter suspension stiffness, throttle mapping, and steering ratio, These variations let the driver tailor the experience from comfort-oriented commuting to track-focused performance. The Chevrolet Corvette E-Ray 2024 has interior updates that reflect the digital integration necessary to display hybrid system data. Gauges show battery health, torque distribution, and energy flow alongside conventional speed and RPM. Designers avoided clutter by embedding these readouts into configurable clusters and head-up displays, giving drivers the choice to monitor details or keep screens minimal. Practical cargo areas remain, though some space was repurposed to accommodate cooling and electrical hardware. Trunk and frunk volumes differ slightly from purely combustion trims. User impressions after early drives note that throttle response feels immediate and seamless, and the extra traction inspires confidence during rapid acceleration. The Chevrolet Corvette E-Ray 2024 turns this functional enhancement into a selling point, redefining how enthusiasts perceive hybrid benefits beyond fuel savings. With the mechanical layout and controls covered, the next focus shifts to cultural impact, market reception, and how this model could influence future product planning across the lineup. That analysis will show whether the hybrid move is temporary adaptation or the start of a new long-term identity for the Chevrolet Corvette E-Ray 2024. The Chevrolet Corvette E-Ray 2024 enters a marketplace where perception, tradition, and innovation collide, and understanding the broader impact requires exploring how enthusiasts, critics, and industry observers interpret the hybrid move. The Chevrolet Corvette E-Ray 2024 carries the expectations of drivers who value quarter-mile times, track capability, and daily usability. These customers often approach new propulsion systems with suspicion, worrying that added complexity could dilute engagement or inflate maintenance costs. Yet as more owners test drive the hybrid configuration, first-hand impressions challenge old assumptions, because the instant torque and enhanced grip deliver a sensation that previous versions could not replicate. In many regions, performance vehicles face tighter emissions rules and registration fees based on output. By integrating electric assistance that reduces tailpipe emissions under certain conditions, the car positions itself to navigate regulatory landscapes without surrendering acceleration benchmarks. The Chevrolet Corvette E-Ray 2024 thus serves as a response to evolving policy demands, but it also functions as a statement that performance icons need not fade when environmental standards tighten. Cultural reception splits along generational lines, with younger buyers often receptive to hybrid technology due to exposure in other segments, while older enthusiasts recall past eras dominated by displacement and mechanical simplicity. Forums and clubs dedicated to this nameplate debate potential long-term collectability, and some wonder if early production runs will gain special status as the first hybrid entries. The Chevrolet Corvette E-Ray 2024 taps into that curiosity by offering exclusive paint schemes, trim accents, or interior details that distinguish it from purely combustion counterparts. Market analysts note that hybrid technology in performance applications can boost resale value when executed well, especially if reliability remains strong and service networks can handle routine inspections. Financing incentives or insurance considerations may shift as well, depending on how agencies categorize the drivetrain, and that can influence purchasing decisions. The Chevrolet Corvette E-Ray 2024 participates in this transformation by normalizing electric boost in a vehicle associated with tradition, encouraging rivals to explore similar pathways under pressure from stakeholders. If rival manufacturers introduce parallel systems, the industry may enter a new phase where hybrid performance becomes a mainstream expectation rather than an outlier. Conversely, if the hybrid approach fails to resonate with buyers, manufacturers may retreat to niche experiments and delay further electrification of flagship models. The Chevrolet Corvette E-Ray 2024 sits at the center of that uncertainty, serving as a test of both technical feasibility and emotional resonance. Another dimension is aftermarket tuning and modification. Enthusiasts accustomed to exhaust swaps, intake changes, and engine recalibrations may approach battery management and electric motor upgrades with caution. Companies that specialize in performance parts might develop solutions tailored to this new layout, potentially expanding the aftermarket but also complicating warranty considerations. Track events and driving schools will evaluate how the Chevrolet Corvette E-Ray 2024 behaves under repeated laps, noting whether battery reserves diminish and how the system recovers energy during cool-down sessions. Owners who pursue timed laps may discover new strategies for managing hybrid boost, adjusting braking points to maximize regeneration without sacrificing corner entry speed. The car's success in these environments will influence community acceptance and shape how owners share feedback. The Chevrolet Corvette E-Ray 2024 also prompts conversations about future variants, such as potential track-focused editions or models with higher electric output. Speculation fuels anticipation and encourages performance enthusiasts to follow updates closely. Manufacturers monitor this feedback to gauge whether a lighter battery, a stronger motor, or a revised aerodynamic package could appear in subsequent years. The cultural shift extends to media coverage, where test drives, reviews, and comparison pieces often highlight the hybrid system more than any other feature. In this coverage, the Chevrolet Corvette E-Ray 2024 frequently appears as a benchmark for balancing tradition with innovation, and its performance statistics provide context for evaluating other vehicles that adopt electrification. As ownership experiences accumulate, reports on charging habits, range in electric-only operation, and long-term battery health will shape the narrative. Positive experiences could convert skeptics, while negative ones might reinforce resistance. Educational outreach, such as dealer briefings or user manuals with detailed explanations, aims to ease the transition by demystifying hybrid components and emphasizing routine maintenance steps that mirror conventional systems. The Chevrolet Corvette E-Ray 2024 thereby becomes an ambassador for hybrid technology in higher horsepower categories, and its reception influences how manufacturers prioritize research and development budgets. Global markets may interpret this model differently. Regions with strong charging infrastructure and supportive regulations may embrace the change quickly, while areas with limited support could remain cautious. Importantly, the Chevrolet Corvette E-Ray 2024 shows that electrification strategies do not always require sacrificing excitement or heritage, and that message could resonate beyond the automotive industry. Brands in other sectors may look to this example when blending legacy features with modern requirements, and consumer expectations could shift accordingly. Within a few model years, data on reliability, resale values, and driver satisfaction will clarify whether the gamble has paid off. The Chevrolet Corvette E-Ray 2024, by stepping into this role, challenges preconceived limitations and invites a reassessment of what performance means in a world of evolving standards. Upcoming discussion will summarize key takeaways and look ahead at where the lineage could move next. The closing section will connect the initial curiosity, the mechanical details, and the cultural reactions into a cohesive understanding of how the Chevrolet Corvette E-Ray 2024 reshapes the conversation. The Chevrolet Corvette E-Ray 2024 represents more than a specification sheet or a single model year. It marks a tipping point in how performance vehicles can adapt without losing the core traits that enthusiasts hold dear. The Chevrolet Corvette E-Ray 2024 proves that hybrid systems, once dismissed as mere efficiency aids, can deliver measurable gains in traction, acceleration, and handling when integrated with forethought and precision. At the same time, the Chevrolet Corvette E-Ray 2024 bridges a generational divide, persuading some traditionalists to reconsider long-standing preferences while welcoming newcomers who grew up expecting electronics and efficiency alongside horsepower. As previous segments explored, engineering solutions have addressed weight balance, thermal management, and acoustic identity with great care, ensuring the hybrid components complement rather than overshadow the combustion heart. Cultural responses will continue to evolve as owners report real-world experiences, yet the conversation has already shifted in a way that makes full electrification a plausible next step. The Chevrolet Corvette E-Ray 2024 stands at the center of that shift, validating the premise that innovation and legacy can coexist when designers prioritize both performance and progression. Looking ahead, future model years may refine the hybrid approach or experiment with higher battery capacity, lighter materials, and updated aerodynamics. Owners who purchase early editions will likely influence how these refinements unfold, and forums will host debates that shape community expectations. The Chevrolet Corvette E-Ray 2024 has also broadened the template for competitor responses, encouraging rival manufacturers to examine electric assist solutions that enhance rather than dilute their performance credentials. At its conclusion, this story returns to the initial question of whether the introduction of a hybrid system could redefine an icon without undoing its reputation. The Chevrolet Corvette E-Ray 2024 delivers its answer through acceleration figures, road handling, and user impressions that demonstrate advancement rather than compromise. In the coming years, data on reliability, resale trends, and owner satisfaction will further establish its place in the lineage. By forging this path, the model signals that the next generation of performance will not be decided by displacement alone but by the intelligent application of multiple power sources. The Chevrolet Corvette E-Ray 2024 closes one chapter and starts another, inviting enthusiasts to rethink the boundaries of tradition and embrace a broader definition of power. In doing so, it sets the stage for the evolution of a nameplate that has always thrived on pushing forward while remembering its roots.